Alright, now the first thing we're going to start off with is design. So as you can see right here in iOS 6, we have this very realistic skeuomorphic design from pretty much the Steve Jobs era from 2007 to 2012. As you can see, all of the icons are very real world like. You can see the reflections of the icons on the dock right there. Very, very classy design. As you can see, go into stuff like settings and everything. Everything just looks really, really nice. And another thing about iOS 6 is its fluidity. Now this is an iPhone 4, so it's not a 4S or 5, which are newer devices that could run iOS 6. But if you just like scroll through the home screens here and open up different types of apps and everything like that, you can just see how smooth everything is, and that's really something that's very special to iOS 6. Even the multitasking, getting into recent apps, everything's very fluid in that regard. Now, of course, when we look at the sort of the design of iOS 10, it's really, really different. This type of iOS design really came into form with the iOS 7 back in 2013, and that pretty much took the whole skeuomorphic realistic design, changed it up a bit, and made it to be more of, well, at first people thought it was more of a cartoonish, simplistic look. However, it has matured a lot more since then. So pretty much today, this is pretty much the iOS that people use every day. I think it's matured a lot over the years to be something that people really enjoy, at least most people. For instance, this iOS in general is a lot more advanced than something like iOS 6 from 2012. For example, first thing we can start out with is the lock screen. So iOS 6, it's your pretty much your basic lock screen. You get any notifications that you would have right here on a lock screen, and you can swipe up to access the camera, and that's about it. Hell, you couldn't even get a notification center back in iOS 6. Now, if you look at something like iOS 10, you can see it looks similar, but it's a lot more of a clean look. There's not all these borders on the top or bottom, and there is no slide to unlock. It's just press home to unlock. Now, you can select the camera by swiping over to the left. That's how you get at the camera. But you can also get to all of your different widgets and recent apps that you may have used. You can see the weather outside. So basically you can see from iOS 6 to iOS 10 in the 4 years apart from then, that is definitely has become more of an advanced operating system. And that's just the lock screen. So if we go into the actual home screen, you will see that it's sort of the same story here too. So here you have something called Control Center, which was introduced in iOS 7, and even since then it's gone through several changes. So right here you get all your different stuff like AirDrop, your timer, camera, new mode called Night Shift, which is essentially a way to look at your stuff at night and make the screen a little bit easier on the eyes. There's also AirPlay mirroring as well if you have an Apple TV. If you swipe over here, you get your music or any media you have, and these are the devices that you play that media on. So again, if you go back and look at iOS 6, you will see that you can't even get to anything like the Control Center. If you swipe up, it won't do absolutely anything. You did get, however, Notification Center, but it was pretty basic compared to what you got on iOS 10. Now, something that's pretty cool here is that you do get the weather, and you get a little like icon for that, and you get the stocks, and you get notifications right here. But and that design Notification Center with all that gray material looks very realistic and very classic as always. Now, if you look at the Notification Center on the iPad Air 2, swipe down right here, you will see you still get the weather and everything, but again, you get stuff like again, you get like news stories from Apple News, and you get widgets that I could do a quick like math problem right here, and you could do that notification. I definitely cannot do that in iOS 10. You can also get weather updates, you get alerts and whatnot from your favorite apps. Also, when we go back to that same principle of the design, you can see how different the apps look. So if we go into something like music, you can see that they look really, really different with this very classic minimalistic design. This has incorporates a bunch of colors, and it's really I prefer this look better, but some people prefer the old iOS look. And if we get into stuff like messages too, messages is something that has actually changed drastically in iOS, and pretty much in the most recent update. So here, pretty much all you can do is pretty much just type out a message, but in something like iOS 10, you can do far more than that. So you can, for instance, if you want to, you can draw stuff and you can send it that way. You can also go ahead, find images and different videos and stuff like that as well. So there's a lot more things that you can do. You can even send your messages in different types of ways if you wanted to do that. So iOS 10 in terms of iMessage has gotten a lot more different than what it was back in something like iOS 6 right here with that really minimalistic yet classic design right there. Another thing that's really different in terms of design for iOS 6 and iOS 10 is the multitasking. So if I double tap the home button right here, double tap the home button on the iPad there too, you will see that on iOS 6 you just get, you know, a bunch of different icons that you can choose from to go back to multitasking. However, in iOS 10 you can scroll through all these apps and you can see what you are currently viewing in that app, which makes for a better user experience. So they have already these like tiles that you can go around with, and you can close multiple ones at a time. So I think I can close all three, yep, like that, and so on and so forth. If you wanted to close an app back in iOS 6, you have to double tap the home button, hold down on one of the apps, and then quickly delete them like so. Now, another major difference between iOS 6 and iOS 10 is how Siri looks and how she works. Now, this right here is an iPhone 4, as you can see by the antenna right here. That's a GSM iPhone 4. And so this doesn't come with Siri, so this is jailbroken. So I got Siri port just for this video so I can demonstrate the differences between them. So this is what iOS 6 Siri looks like and how she works. How are you doing today? Tell me a joke. What is the weather like outside right now? Who is the CEO of Apple? Okay, so that's how Siri is on iOS 6. Now let's see how she is on iOS 10. How are you doing today?
I feel good.
What is the weather like outside right now?
It's windy out there.
Who is the CEO of Apple?
I think Apple's website should be able to help you with that.
Tell me a joke.
The past, present, and future walk into a bar.
Never heard that one before. That one's very good, actually. So one thing you can see with the Siri interface versus the one here, I'm trying to reactivate it again. How are you doing today? So you can see between this iOS 6 interface, again, a nice classy design, especially with that purple microphone right there. And then we go to this Siri, she's a lot more It's a lot more, it kind of blurs out the background a little bit, have all these different colors around. But one thing you can notice for sure is that the Siri on iOS 10 is a lot faster than the one on iOS 6. Also, you'll notice that the voice of the one on iOS 6 is a bit more robotic versus the one on iOS 10 here. Now, many of us remember iOS 6 as being a very fast and fluid operating system, especially when it came to opening apps and doing stuff such as Safari browsing. But is that really true, or is it just something in our heads? Well, let's go ahead and find out here. So I'm going to open up Safari on both of these guys, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out the browser history and cache. I'm freshly ready to do this browser test. So let's go ahead and open up Safari on both of these guys. So pretty responsive on both. Let's go. Alright, let's go to google.com on here. .com. This is a fairly basic website, so I don't think you guys should struggle that much with it, but let's see. Go. And bam. On iOS 10 it was pretty much instant. On iOS 6 took a little bit of time, but again, not that bad. So let's go ahead and try another website. So let's try a fairly more advanced website, and this I think will really show you how far iOS 10 has come from iOS 6. So let's try Disney. Okay, so bam, we are live here on iOS 10. And on iOS 6, it's tough for trying to load up stuff. It's fairly unresponsive at the moment, so can't really get into anything right now. Now, also something to note is just the big different specs here. This is an iPhone 4, this is an iPad Air 2, so it's 4 generations apart in terms of processing speed. So obviously this would be a lot faster, but even just like in terms of the Safari engine, it's definitely a lot faster in iOS 10 versus iOS 6. Hell, a lot of this website isn't even accessible right now, where it says iOS 10, everything is there and ready to use and everything like that. Now, something to note here about iOS 6 versus iOS 10 is app support. A lot of apps in iOS 6 won't work, especially the latest versions of them, that is. So if I go into the App Store on both of these guys, okay, so let's say I want to download something like Super Mario Run. That's a fun, pretty recent game, right? So let's go ahead and download that. So, and hey, look, it's right there. Let's try to download it. And application requires iOS 8 or later. Well, I want to download Snapchat. Let's try that. And you have to download an older version of the app, which you're going to find a lot of these apps. The good thing is, at least you get the app. But in some cases, you can't even get the app in something like, say, Super Mario Run. So this applies to a lot of apps even. So let's go to something basic like Facebook. And again, you have to download an older version. That goes for Facebook, YouTube, and whatever. So yeah, versus iOS 10, obviously it's the latest version of the OS, and it looks a lot more up to date versus the one on iOS 6. So let's do the same thing. Now, I already have those types of apps like Super Mario Run. It's actually right here. So I have games like Super Mario Run, and then I also have Facebook and Twitter right there. So that is good and those require iOS 8, but I have iOS 10, which is even better. So clearly with iOS 10, you're going to be getting lots of app support, and which is going to make it to a better user experience. So to conclude here, guys, iOS 6 was a very nostalgic firmware for me to come back to again. I remember using it the first time I actually got an iPhone, which was actually an iPhone 4. It wasn't this one, it was a white one, but it was pretty similar, and interface was very fluid. It still is pretty fluid today, although when it comes to stuff like loading websites and app support, it's not as good as something like iOS 10. 10, which we have right here. But if you want to use it, you can still get a lot of basic apps like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and stuff like that. They'll just be the older and not as up-to-date versions. But you do get to enjoy this very classic user interface right here, which is really nice to have. But I would say if your device is fairly new, like this iPad Air 2 right here, definitely update to iOS 10. You get all the benefits having a new OS. You get that you get that same flat modern interface, and overall a better user experience with more tools and more features that can help you do more stuff. So that's it, guys. That is iOS 6 versus iOS 10. And yeah, so which one do you like more? Leave it down in the comments below. Anyway, this has been Electric Watches 1, signing out.